So let's move on to more local politics. Simon Holmes, the Court's Climate 200 group that bankrolled the Teal independent wave at the last election, now has set its sights on unseating more coalition MPs. The group has identified at least 9 seats it will target at the next election, all of which were won by the coalition in 2022. Bronwyn, the Liberal Party may be vulnerable, but of course, last time the Teals won seats, Scott Morrison was in office. This time with a Labor government and the cost of living pressures, etc. Will the Teals have quite the same appeal with their luxury beliefs?
Well, I think there are 2 points to make. First of all, I don't think the same amount of money is going to be available. In the seat of Mackellar, the Teal spent $1.2 million. There is already one of their biggest donors who gave $500,000 last time, won't be giving it this time. So I think it's a different ball game. The second thing is they stood on a platform of integrity and climate change. Mm-hmm. Integrity, we've seen none. On the climate change issue, where are the Teals campaigning about these monstrous proposals to put these huge windmills out into the sea and interrupt the whales transgression movements and so on? Where is their integrity?
Bronwyn, you've got to destroy the environment to save it. Don't you know that?
Well, that, of course, was the same argument with the Vietnam War, wasn't it? Yes, destroy the village to save it.
So you don't think the Teals will be as successful next time?
I don't.
All right. Keith, the Nationals leader, David Littleproud, he's just launched a scathing attack against voters in Teal seats, accusing them of being out of touch with the struggles of regional Australians. Have a listen to what he said.
I just say to those viewers that are from Teal seats, just take a little visit out west and understand the burden you're asking us to bear. For you to put your head on a pillow at night and think that you've saved the world, you've actually destroyed much of the environment where I live.
Talk to me about the frustration that's being felt by people in regional areas. Obviously, David Littleproud, he seemed quite emotional actually speaking out about that today. Just how annoying is it for people in regional areas to, I guess they feel, carry the burden of the renewable project?
Well, everyday Australians can't afford more Teals. That's the reality. They can't afford to pay more for electricity. They can't afford to pay more for their car. They can't afford to pay more for food and rent and housing. And this is the reality of Labor's policies, which the Teals are supporting. And out in regional areas, I mean, this is the practical, this is the front line, this is the common sense. And what Labor is doing is millions of hectares of solar panels, for example, which need to be replaced every 20 years, tens of thousands of wind turbines in regional areas. They don't want them. Just look at the blow-up you've got now for offshore that's proposed for the south coast. Well, how about we put them in the harbour? I mean, Sydney Harbour's a great spot. It's pretty windy there. I'm sure Bron would like to look out the window and see a whopping great big wind turbine that's higher than the harbour bridge. It'll attract tourism for sure. I mean, I'm sure the Japanese and the Chinese will fly from all over the world to come and see a harbour full of wind turbines. Well, no one in regional Australia wants to see them either.
Keith, I know you're being sarcastic, but I remember Anastasia Palaszczuk seriously proposing that a wind farm in Queensland would become a major tourist attraction. People would get on buses and drive out to look at these turbines. I remember her seriously saying that.
Well, they might come and look at them when they're on fire. I mean, that'd be something to see, which potentially can happen. But for the regions, the numbers are just extraordinary, and I think there's challenges for us to try and get across to people just how big an area this is. I mean, we've seen reports for Gladstone Hydrogen, for example, needing 2,500 square kilometres of solar panels just for Gladstone Hydrogen. It's really, we're going to level 2,500 square kilometres, and you really think you'll get an environmental approval for that, and you'll get it through an Indigenous land use agreement, and you'll pay royalties through native title, and that'll be all tickety-boo? Well, I don't think so. So if we accept that this stuff's just not going to happen, well, you need another solution. And nuclear is that baseload net zero solution. It's got no emissions. It works 100% of the time. And we just need people to actually have a conversation about it so that we can get some information to them that's factual and it's not just based on feelings, because the proposal from Labor is all about a feeling.
Keith, we've got to go to a break in a moment, but I just want to ask you, tomorrow morning there's a coalition party room meeting to talk about the plans for nuclear. What sort of announcement will we get from the Prime Minister tomorrow? Will we find out the locations of proposed reactors tomorrow? Is that the plan?
Oh, well, I'd love to give you an insight, but A, I don't know, and B, if I did, I wouldn't tell you. So, unfortunately, you're right out of luck, but I'd imagine there'll be plenty to say. There's lots going on tonight that I'm aware of, and, you know, you've obviously been informed about a potential meeting tomorrow. I would assume that that would be the discussion, but we've got 2 weeks of parliamentary sittings coming up as well, and I'm sure colleagues will have plenty to say, and it'll be a good discussion.
Well, the important thing is that there's a plan out there, which is an alternate, and I think people will see it. As I said, the teals spent an enormous amount of money, reportedly, in Mackellar, 1.2 million. But the point is this, there is now a real argument going on,
yes,
which was absent in 2022.
Indeed.
There was a real alternative to encompass all Australians.
Got to have a contest.
Not just some.
Well, indeed, there'll definitely be a contest at the next election, Keith, that's for sure. Bronwyn Bishop, Keith Pitt, thanks so much to both of you.